Everyone has a story to tell. It's my mission to tell it. Unscripted, unedited, we are on the record. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sarina Fazan, and boy, I'm so excited. It's time for another love story, Love in America. But my guest today is also an incredible, inspiring woman, so she could also be on the record. It's Allison Kropff. Allie, it's so great to see you.
It's so great to see you. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for coming in. Okay,
it's been a while since I've seen you, so this is so good.
Yes, and she is such a familiar face, of course, because you worked for years, 10 years, at the Tampa Bay station, the CBS affiliate, WTSP.
Yeah, 10 years, and just left the station back in October just to start a new adventure and try something else out for a while, and it's been really fun. But it was an amazing 10 years at that station, and obviously here in Tampa Bay, we live in the best area, and to get to know everyone in the community, so it was a great ride while I was there.
Well, I mean, you were such a pillar of that station and set such a great example for so many people. Let's talk about that first, because even the crew even said, Sarine, Love in America, and only one person. Usually it's like, but there's so many layers to your story, and your story is pretty amazing.
Thank you.
But let's talk about the station first, because I think a lot of people were very surprised that you decided to leave traditional TV.
It felt a little abrupt probably for people who watched or for coworkers, but it was a process that I took really seriously and thought really hard about, because I had been in the business for a long time, working before in West Virginia and Tennessee, and then coming here to Florida, and it was a passion of mine and I loved it, and it was just always the only path that I ever had. And then it just came to a point where I kind of felt like it was time to try something new, take on a new adventure, go see what else is out there. And my love for it had faded a little. And I thought that position deserved to be with someone who had, the highest amount of passion they could for that job. And so it kind of felt like it was time to let somebody else take over and take that job and that position. And
you are truly a class act. No, you are.
It just felt that. It really did genuinely feel that way, but it wasn't an overnight decision for me. It was a lot. I mean, you ask family and friends, and it was constant phone calls, and I had coffee with people, and just trying to figure out how I really felt. And somebody said to me once, they were like, you wouldn't even have this conversation if you were really wanting to stay in that job.
Right.
And I thought, that hit me, and I was like, yeah, I'm making the right choice.
And seriously, a very big deal, because as you and I both know, we both sat in the anchor chair at traditional news stations. So to give that up, and especially, I always knew since the age of 4, I wanted to be, on broadcast news. But I feel like it's changed so much. What do you think of our studios here at CP and Red House?
This is so cool. I walked in, I was like, this is a station. This is really cool. It is interesting how broadcast television news is evolving and changing, not even to do something like this, but evolving even in a newsroom, and how we have to be set up to give people the news that they can't get on their phone. Like, why are you watching us at noon and 5, and why are you watching us at 6 and 11? That was, it's just an evolving thing right now. It's incredible to watch it happen.
I know, it's such a fascinating conversation, because years ago you would have to watch the noon or the 5 or the 6 to be able to see your story, but now because of streaming, and that's that's why I'm so passionate about this, because I feel like this is the the wave of the future.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, what I loved, being a local anchor, though, you have a lot of influence in the community, and to me that's such a privilege and an honor. For you, because of a very personal story, one of your missions was to spread awareness about cancer.
Absolutely.
And we are so sorry. It was years ago, and that's how you and I first met. I actually wrote you a letter after the passing of your husband at such a young age, at 39.
We moved here in 2011. And in February of 2012, he was diagnosed with ocular melanoma. It happened so fast, and we had just moved here, and it was this brand new journey that we were on, and then it just became that journey of, the idea that somebody would be diagnosed with cancer that looked perfectly healthy. There was nothing wrong. And so he went through some treatments, and he went to Moffitt Cancer Center, which is why it's so close to my heart and such a passion for me, because he got into a clinical trial at Moffitt. And it gave him 2 years of life. The cancer, ocular melanoma, is extremely rare, and there is no treatment, there's no cure. and he got into a clinical trial that worked. It gave him 2 extra years of life. And he passed away in August of 2015. But the care he got there, for me, was, maybe it didn't save his life, but it gave us that time. And everyone was incredible. From the moment you walked in to Moffitt Cancer Center, people working the desk, the nurses, the doctors, the people serving coffee. It was just the worst place, you don't want to go there, but the best place because they treated you wonderfully. So for me, Miles for Moffitt specifically was always an event that I held close to my heart because we ran in that together. His doctor ran in it with us, and we got a team together, and it was just being in that environment and seeing so many people that are going through a cancer diagnosis, or they're going through treatments, or they've lost someone, and everybody comes together and is running to raise money so it doesn't happen to anybody else, was incredible, and still is.
Yes, and I know how important that is too, because both of my brothers, one is an oncologist and another is a neurosurgeon that specializes in brain tumors and cancer. But every step of the way, it's so painful, has to be the most comforting that it can possibly be.
Right.
But with Justin, how was he diagnosed in the first place?
So he had a hooding over his eye, so when he would look at something, it was kind of like a dark hood that was over his eye. And a friend of mine is an eye doctor, and we talked to her about it. She's like, oh, it sounds like his retina's detaching. We're like, okay. So we went to a retina specialist. They're like, yeah, it's detaching, but it's because of something is causing it to detach. And so they sent us to USF Health, and the doctor there told us it was a tumor. So it was just because he was having trouble with, seeing a little bit, but not enough that we ever thought it was cancer. We thought, retina detaches, you get it fixed up, and so he was first treated at USF Health by a doctor there that he had to have radiation in his eye, and the tumor went away. And we kind of, from the beginning, we never Googled it because, you Google anything and it's the worst possible outcome.
Right.
So we never Googled it. We never wanted to know, how much time does he left? What stage is it? We never focused on that part of it. We were constantly just focused on, what are we going to do? What's the next step? How are you going to get better? And after he had his first surgery and it was gone from his eye, we thought we were done with it. Okay, you caught it, you got it, and now you're fine. And it was probably a year and a half later that he started to have some pain in his side, and we went to the doctor, and he had scans, and it had spread to his liver. And ocular melanoma is extremely aggressive, and so because we didn't Google it and we didn't ask questions, I wouldn't say we were blindsided by the fact that it spread. I think we probably knew a little bit, and family members, of course, are in the medical field, so they knew a little bit. And when we found out it had spread, that's when we went to Moffitt. And that's kind of when I think it hit us that it was a lot bigger than we thought it was in the beginning, or more serious. And so, but they got us right into that clinical trial. And I mean, the doctor, Dr. Zager, was, a friend, a savior. He was all these things for us, and he always picked up the phone and always answered questions and was so patient and wonderful, and I still talk to him till this day. So he's just like a great relationship with that. So that's kind of how it all happened. It was really just, they say pay attention to your body, and if there are changes and things that don't feel quite right, get it checked out. That was a perfect example. Something wasn't right, and you got it checked out. And unfortunately, it wasn't, good news, but it's important to pay attention to those things, and that's why prevention and awareness is so important. Something like Miles for Moffitt. So when you go and you are seeing people talking about cancer, and you think like, oh, I've been having some vision problems, maybe I should go get my eyes checked out. It could be early enough that you could catch it, and you then can prevent anything really bad from happening.
I can't even thank you enough for sharing such a personal story, because even if you help one person out there, right, I feel we've done what we're supposed to do. just help at least one person. I know hindsight is 20/20, and again, thank you so much for sharing the details. Do you wish that you guys would have researched on Google?
No, I don't, because we never were focused on the bad stuff. We just focused on his healing and what was the next step that we could do. I know myself, and if we were in a position where I knew the prognosis, or that he had, you hear all the time when they say you're diagnosed with this kind of cancer, you have how many ever months to live. I think my focus would have maybe been there. He was so positive the whole time. It was incredible to see just how he stayed so positive when it was really dark. And I wonder if I would have been focused on the wrong things. It was easy to just focus on moving forward and what are we going to do next and how are we going to save you. I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have, but I'm glad we didn't, because we didn't have to have the bad information. We only focused on what was right in front of us. And I think that's how I have since been, that here's the information. You know, sometimes I'm not very good at it, but here's the information that you have, work with that. Like, there'll be some times that I'm worrying about something, and I don't even have all the information yet. You're like, just wait for the rest of it. So I think that no, I don't wish that we Googled it.
Yeah,
no.
And we're journalists, you know, so you know,
it
so
like,
it's not just one article you're reading, but then we have to start reading every little thing about it.
Now that came in handy when we were trying to find, because after the clinical trial was over at Moffitt, and it was essentially gone, and then the scans showed that it started to come back, and that was in December of 2014. We started to see that the tumors were coming back on his liver. And then that came in hand, the journalism part, because I was researching every clinical trial across the country. Where could we go next? And calling hospitals and talking with doctors. And that part of it, then we started looking for what was next that we could get him into that would, you know, potentially be another treatment.
Wow. And how long had you guys been married at this point?
It had been 6 years.
And you were only 33 at the time.
I was young. He was young. When he passed away, he was 39. And that was another hard part of it, because being as young as I was and just married and no children, you don't have a lot of people that share that same experience. And after he passed away, I would Google, you know, blogs, or is there anybody out there kind of going through the experience that I'm going through, that, you know, you're looking for guidance, you're looking for what am I supposed to be doing, how am I supposed to be feeling? And I mean, you end up, how you feel is how you feel. Everyone's experience is unique to them, and you don't have to do it a certain way to get through it. And so I looked for that, and there just wasn't. If they were around my age, they had children, or they were much older than me. So it wasn't an experience that I could connect with anybody about, really relate to, because no one had gone through that at that time. So it was hard to find some help kind of navigating that, but family and friends were wonderful and helped me through it. And maybe it's a good thing that I figured it out on my own instead of taking somebody else's path and how they kind of got through to the other side.
You know, you're such a public figure, though, and a very a popular one. Like, you started out as a weekend morning anchor, then you were promoted to the morning newscast, and then you did the noon and the 5. So very high profile, really the face of the station. So how did you handle that?
Going through it, it actually was incredible to have so many people in my corner. The support from viewers and from coworkers and the station was wonderful to have, because everyone knew what we were going through, so they were supportive, which was perfect for what I needed at the time. Just, you know, little notes from viewers that they're thinking about me, and the note that you sent, and coworkers were just, they knew what was happening. So that was fantastic to have. And then coming back, I took some time off after he died. And when I came back, it was overwhelming, the support from the station and from viewers. And I'm glad that I think going back and having to be on television kind of allowed you to fake it a little bit. Because you had to put on makeup and smile, and, you know, you're waking up and it's 4:30 in the morning, and who wants to be awake, but you have to do that. And I got a moment at the end of my first show back to say thank you to everyone, because people sent cards and people sent emails, and I wanted to make sure that they knew that I saw all of them, and it meant the world to me. And so I got that moment to cry and to have that with my co-anchors who were so supportive. And then it just became a little bit of a routine, and routine helps. So because I had to go and, like, put makeup on and, you know, fake a smile, I think it helped me get through it too, because you had to focus on something else and work really. For that year back after he died, work really got me through a lot of stuff, because you have to focus, and the day is just flying by, so you kind of fake it a little bit.
Well, and you know, you really are so beloved by the community, and I think that the community just is so connected. Now, I really want to point out, like, you've also won Emmys as an anchor, and it's very difficult to win. I mean, you know, I've been blessed. I've won Emmys in breaking news and, you know, stories, but to win an Emmy as an anchor is extremely, I mean, to me, I think that is a very big deal. It shows that viewers really, you know, connect with you.
That meant a lot to me, and the first anchor Emmy that I won was in December of 2015, just a couple of months after Justin had died. And so it was, you know, heartbreaking that he didn't get to be there with me as I won it, because he knew how passionate I was about the career. But at the same time, it was a little bit of light, you know, a little of like,
oh my gosh, it gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, it was nice to have it all happen around the same time, that it was like the worst time of my life, but a really exciting time of my career.
Absolutely. So, of course, whenever anybody ever gets married, you don't think, you know, the marriage is going to end, whether, in your case, so sadly, and again, we're so sorry, in cancer or divorce. How did you guys meet? How did you?
At a TV station in Knoxville. He was the sports anchor, and I was the weekend weather anchor and reporting there, and that's how we met. And he ended up getting out of television. He was in sports for a while. And he ended up getting out of TV, and he then was doing communications work for the Chamber of Commerce in Knoxville. And then I was still at the station, so yeah.
Wow.
Two TV people meeting up.
Isn't that something?
All the time in our industry.
It does, because, you know, my gosh, I mean, the newsroom is such a crazy place, and, you know, they just understand the schedules. Well, thank you again so much for sharing this journey, and you're such a wonderful example again to the community on how you carry yourself, everything you do for cancer. And the reason why I wanted you on Love in America, of course, is to recognize everything you've done, but also you are proof of new beginnings.
Yeah.
And there is staying positive. So we're going to go to a break.
Okay.
And after we come back from the break, we're going to talk about a very exciting new chapter in your life. Okay, everybody, stay with us. We'll be right back.
The holidays are coming up. Why not give the gift of health for your skin? South Tampa Dermatology is offering a special through February, and you can save hundreds. You can get the ZO products I use for 12 weeks of care, a 3-step ZO peel, and a laser treatment. I've had them all, and I can tell you it is well worth the investment. It's another reason why I rely on the Dream Team at South Tampa Dermatology.
I'm Sarina Fazan, a journalist, producer, and podcast host. With a background in television news, I know how much time and talent it takes to produce a broadcast quality production. But no more. Red House Streaming offers a simple, cost-effective method for capturing live action and streaming it in real time to YouTube, Facebook, or any other website. From single camera shoots or multi-camera productions, conventional or virtual sets, and from the state-of-the-art Red House Streaming Studios to remote locations, the professional crew at Red House Streaming, backed by the technology and reputation of CP Communications, allows you to produce more content at a lower cost and with little to no engineering required. That's why my podcast, On the Record with Sarina Fazan, is streamed live from the Red House Streaming Studios each week. Contact Red House Streaming today at 800-762-4254 or online at cpcoms.com to learn more. I'll see you in the studio.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Love in America. I'm here with Allison Kropff, and look at that. Look at that ring on your finger, girl.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Okay, so
engaged.
New beginnings,
yes.
Engaged, getting married this year.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind couple of months.
Oh,
it really has. From leaving the station and then getting engaged and then starting a new career. It's been a whirlwind, but
this is so exciting.
Really exciting.
I mean, you are the walking example of new beginnings, hope, everything. And your fiance is adorable. I know we're going to show pictures of him, CJ.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start. How did you meet him?
We met on a dating app. We met on Bumble, which I was very much against doing a dating app. And somebody at the station finally convinced me to do it because I thought, I can't go on a dating app. Like that's, you know, it just didn't feel like that was real, like something that you would do. and finally convinced me to do it. And I did it for a while, and we happened to meet. He was in Sarasota at the time. He happened to be up in St. Pete, and we matched. And so we met and started talking. And as we started talking, we were like from the Buffalo area. And when you say that, you know, depending on where you're from, you're like, oh, I'm from Buffalo. And they're like, oh, yeah, where? And then you're like, well, close to here. And they're like, oh, yeah, me too, where? And then it gets down to, and we were like, oh, we're from like towns next to each other.
No way.
Yeah, so we're right next to each other. So we're talking, we know people, and kind of just chit-chatting about it. And then following each other on Instagram, I saw a picture and I was like, oh, is this your sister? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, we cheered together when we were in middle school. So he's like, oh yeah, I hated going to those cheer competitions on Saturday mornings. And I was like, well, so some part of the universe, we have been in the same room, or I'm sure I have met him, because if he was at all of these, you know, cheer competitions, we were doing this, it was a cheer squad that we would like travel and compete and all that. So our paths have crossed somewhere in a previous, you know, time of our lives.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is
so
crazy.
Small of a world, and like, you know, was friends with his sister for years, you know, in this cheerleading world, and then still kept in touch with her a little bit, not so often, but still knew of her because of the fact that we went to high schools next to each other. And yeah, so then we just had this small world, and you know, we go home and it's home. It's not, hey, I have to show you this restaurant and that. It's like, hey, do you want to go and like get,
that
know,
is
dinner?
adorable. Yeah. Okay, so I always say on this show, like, I don't want the Reader's Digest version. I love the New York Times version. So so the Bumble app. So when you first went, and explain to people, is with Bumble, it's the girl that chooses,
right? You swipe.
Okay.
Like, guys are on it too, and they swipe, you know, right, if they like left, if they don't. And women do the same thing, but the woman has to talk. If you guys match, then the woman has to say something first. Like, the guy can't say something to the woman first. The woman has like 24 hours or something like that, and then you can talk.
So, I love that you're sharing all of this too, because it shows that I did a whole series on dating and online dating, and it does work. It definitely works.
It is. I heard something, I forget who it was. It was a morning anchor. I can't think of her name right now, but she did an article about how when she started dating and she was on these apps, that she might have done Match or something like that, but she would say when she would get home from work, she would pour a glass of wine and she would dedicate an hour to it, or she would say, I'm going to have 3 matches, or I'm going to have 1 conversation. She set a goal. And so she's like, I made it a job, and you had to like dedicate yourself to that. And I thought, instead of just like mindlessly, you know, scrolling or not really paying attention to, you know, oh, he's cute, but he also loves skydiving every weekend. Like, I don't need to do that. So you're like really paying attention to what it was and kind of making it just something you did every night. And so, I mean, at first I was just like, oh, he's cute, and it doesn't matter. But then I read that article and I thought, okay. And so that was a little bit part of it too. It's not just, you know, dating apps can seem very, you know, ridiculous or that's not gonna work. But if you kind of put some time into it and be honest about what you really want and have honest conversations, then, you know, I say it works because it works for me.
It worked for you. I love these life lessons. So, when you first met CJ, did you know, was there immediate chemistry?
Yes. So we chatted and text, and then we had a phone call, which I know nobody talks on the phone anymore, but we talked for hours on the phone. And that's such a cliche story, right? Like, oh, we talked for hours and we knew it, you know, whatever. I would say probably I didn't get off the phone that night and was like, he's the one, but I was like, wow, this is something, because we talked for hours. And then we had, you know, like, after we had our first date, I drove home and cried because I was like, yeah, I like teared up in the car on the way home because I was like, yeah, like,
you knew.
Yeah.
And I wanted him on the show too, but I wanted to devote this show to you, dedicate this show to you. So we're going to have him come back on.
Yes.
But does he say that he knew too?
He says that it definitely was like, for whatever reason, everything kind of aligned. I don't know. He's not quite the type of person that was going to be like, I fell in love with you the day. He's not mushy like me. But I know that we've had that conversation. Like, after that first date, we both were kind of like, huh, like, you know, this is something, you know, bigger than just we went on a date. And then we just kept hanging out. And then it just became like we never went a weekend without seeing each other after that.
Wow. Okay, so how long was it before he proposed? How long did you guys date before he proposed?
For 3 years.
For 3 years?
Yeah, we were together for 3 years. Yeah.
And so then how did he propose?
It was so my last day at the station was on a Friday, and it was wonderful. We went out with coworkers, and just everyone was so great about like sending me off. It was so positive, and so it just felt really good. It was a Friday, and then Saturday, I was actually getting ready to leave for my first freelance job on Sunday. So on Saturday, we were just at home, and it was a regular night, and he came downstairs, and I thought he was going into the kitchen, and I'm watching some cheesy show that I'm watching, having a glass of wine, relaxing to go to bed. And he got down on one knee by the couch.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so
and blew I had zero idea. I'm in sweatpants and watching TV, and he has said that is exactly how he wanted it. He did not want it to be that I would have any clue, and he succeeded. I did not have a clue.
Oh my gosh! And what a considerate person. What great timing. Your last day at a career that you loved, embarking on a new journey, and then of course embarking on this wonderful new chapter of life.
It really is an entirely new chapter, and he mentioned something about that he wanted it to be that this is our new chapter together. Totally new for me. New career, new adventure, and then planning a wedding, which is really exciting.
So exciting. And you are getting married this year in 2022, which is so great.
Fast. Let's go. Let's just, I'm very surprised that you can get a wedding together in a short amount of time, but we're making it happen.
I am so happy for you guys.
Thank you.
Both have to come back on in Love in America.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, as you know, now I'm on Roku, and this is such exciting news. So I'm hearing in my ear, because we could talk forever, but they're like, we're really trying to go to TV News 2830 because I'm getting, advertisers and all that. Isn't that so exciting?
You're getting cues in your ears to stop talking.
Oh my gosh, isn't that so cool? Though? Isn't that so?
Great.
It's so cool that actual TV time.
I know this is
I love
beautiful.
Your shoes.
Thank you.
By the way.
These are from CJ. These are the first shoes he ever bought me.
Oh my. Okay, this is why I love this show so much. It's unedited, unscripted.
Yeah.
So first we hear about this, how you knew his sister, which is such a surprise, and then how would I ever point to your shoes and then you'd say those are the first shoes that he bought you?
Yeah. And they're really comfortable and super cute. So I was like, okay. Buy me shoes.
Did you wear the shoes today because of Love in America?
Of course I did.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Of course I did. I was like, that's what the show's about.
I love it. So these, I was going to say, do you like my shoes?
I do like them. They're cute. I like the bow.
Thank you. So these are actually Label Swap, which is a consignment store in Tampa. They're now outfitting me for my show. Do you remember those days in TV News where it was so fun, where you'd get a wardrobe? I never worked
in that. I came in right at the end of hair and makeup and clothes. None of that existed anymore. So
well now with this,
you're bringing it back.
I'm bringing it back.
Well, it's awesome. This whole place is beautiful, and congratulations to you for doing all of this, because this is really cool.
Well, thank you so much, and I have to mention you have green eyes as well.
Yes.
And we have this whole thing about only 2% of people in the entire globe have green eyes. So maybe I'm just putting it out on the universe.
Manifesting. We talked about this.
That you will join the Sarina Fazan Network.
Wow.
Maybe you'll do a show.
Well,
we can, what I mean?
You put it out there now.
What do you think? Okay. Allie, can I give you a hug? Thank you for being on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh,
this is so fun.
Absolutely,
yeah,
100%. Oh, please, you and CJ better be back.
Yes.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please share the show. You can find me on multiple platforms, and we love having you. So stay safe, everyone, and have a great week. Oh, this is good.